I won't keep you in suspense. Fuzznuts is going to be okay.
Gnosis is found wherever Sophia walks and is not dependent upon any school of thought.
That's where the sexual energy is deposited within ourselves. That's where our vitality, our creative energy is there.
Mind, body, and spirit, what we call today the three major divisions of philosophical thinking. Right. Basically, what this is depicting is the person who has self-realization unifies his body, mind, and spirit in such a way that he or she can ascend through the various dimensions of psychic exploration, spiritual creativity, and even in the worlds of science and knowledge as depicted in the book, understand astronomy and cosmology of other worlds we would call today parallel evolution. Right. You can be Christed if you find the feminine. If you do not find the feminine within you, you can be tormented by a judgmental God or a system of belief that suppresses the inner psyche.
Greetings, fellow worker slaves, podcasting at 128 kilobits from the Fortress of Squalitude, not far from the Redneck Mecca. This is the Atheist in the Trailer Park podcast. I'm your host, Tucker. Professor Fuzznuts is debating about whether or not he wants to come see me. Buddha is making a loaf on the floor, as in, he's in a loaf shape. Not that he's dropping a turd. Ash and Lord Squeakington are curled up in my room. Yes, it's a podcast hosted by a guy and his cats. Get over it. This is an Acts of Andrew episode where Skullbeard and I read a few chapters from the Gnostic text. Next episode will be a news episode. First things first, I need to thank Peg, Rebecca, and Danilo for their help. It wasn't enough to get Fuzznuts seen by the vet, but it was enough that I could talk to the vet, and if they had said that I needed to use something other than Neosporin for Fuzznuts' ear, I could have afforded it. The vet said that since the Neosporin seems to be working, to just keep using it, and if his ear doesn't clear up in a week or so, to bring him in. Fuzznuts is mostly back to his old self, and his ear has largely cleared up, though he's missing a lot of hair of it. Like half the hair on that ear is gone. I still have to fight him to put the Neosporin on him, but at least I'm no longer scared that he won't die on me. Which is where I was when I asked everybody for help. I was terrified that he was going to die, because normally the little guy follows me around the house in the mornings, and he, if he doesn't do that, when he hears that I'm around, he lifts his head up, and all he did was give me some side eye. And unfortunately, I forgot to ask about Ash's vision problems, so I don't have an answer on that. We'll set up an appointment to get him looked at. I guess it'll have to be Saturday, because I have no idea what my work schedule is going to be like. As for work this past week, we put in almost 60 hours. I was absolutely worn out after that. Literally, all I did yesterday was go talk to the vet, get some wet food for Fuzznuts, and shove a little food in my mouth. The rest of the time, I was curled up in the bed or on the couch. I'm still really tired, but I have been able to do more things around the house than I did yesterday. The rumor at work is that we're going to stay busy until at least August, so it's unlikely that I'll have to suffer through another week without getting paid. We're also supposed to be launching some new product lines. These will be big changes for us. We're going to be doing a vegetarian option. We're also going to be doing turkey and salmon And I think one other new item, but I don't remember what it might be. Of course, who knows how well they'll do in the marketplace. If they take off, then I can no doubt expect to be very busy. Though right now, we're seriously understaffed, so even if business doesn't pick up much, I'll be putting in a lot of overtime for the foreseeable future. And I had the worst day at work on Wednesday that I've ever had at Rich's. Roughly once a month, we cook barbecue for schools. This is a bit of a high-pressure situation since we have to have a USDA inspector watching us the entire time. He can't leave until we've gotten everything loaded into the ovens, and he puts a seal on the ovens after the shit's loaded in there. That's how serious they take this. Then he comes back the next day to watch us unload the ovens and process everything. It's not so much high pressure for us because we're worried that he'll catch us doing something wrong, just that we know it's going to be a 12-hour day for us, and as soon as we're done loading the ovens, we have to immediately jump into prepping other stuff so we can get that into the ovens when the school stuff is out. The problem we had is that the meat we used came in frozen. And unless you've worked in a large-scale commercial food operation, you don't know what that means. The freezers at your local grocery store don't get any colder than the one you have at the house. Industrial operations are way colder, around minus 40 degrees. And that's one of those nice temps where it doesn't matter if you live in the civilized parts of the world or not. They're basically the same. So when I say that the meat was frozen, I mean it was roughly minus 40 degrees. They're supposed to warm it up before they send it to us. Ideally, it is right around the freezing point of water. Maybe a little above, maybe a little below, but in either case, it is still possible for us to do something with it. When it's at minus 40 degrees, there's nothing we can do with it. What we should have done, but didn't, was to work out a way with the USDA inspector to allow us to keep the meat in our refrigerators for a day or so to allow it to thaw a bit more. We didn't. We got containers which we used to process or store some of the meat, and these hold roughly 64 cubic feet of meat. That's about 2 cubic meters for those of you in the civilized parts of the world. We dumped a bunch of meat in them, along with lots of water that is just below the boiling point. The meat was so cold, however, that an hour later, the water was barely above freezing and the meat was still frozen. In talking to one of the guys who works on second shift, he said that they didn't get the last of the meat into the oven until after 11:30 that night. Normally, we'd have it all loaded into the ovens by no later than 6 p.m. We also had to cook it longer since some of it was still frozen when it went to the ovens, which of course throws off our schedules that are horribly made up anyways. For what we're going to do for the rest of the week. With all that being said, I think you folks can understand why I haven't put out the bonus episode I talked about. Depending upon how this week goes, I'll either roll that stuff into the next news episode or I'll put it out on a little later on. If, I just put in 8-hour days and they're fairly easy, then I'll probably put the bonus episode out this week. If not, then some of the stories will end up in the news episode and I'll still get you a bonus episode at some point. And last but not least, I absolutely want to thank all the Patreon supporters who make the show possible. were not for you, I'd be in dire straits right now. So thank you. All right. That's enough of my blathering, probably a little bit too much. Now here's Skullbeard and I reading more of the Acts of Andrew, and it's not quite as shakshay as the last episode, but it's still worth listening to, I think.
Hey.
Howdy.
How goes?
Cold.
Cold?
Yes.
We just got out of the deep freeze. It's been minus 30 for the last week.
No, that's a bit worse than it is here. It's on your scale. It's been -6.
It was warmer than that overnight. It finally warmed up, which meant it got fucking windy for a day or so. And now it's all better. Oh, I knew I was forgetting something.
And at least you're not a newfie.
No, I couldn't live like that. Sorry, no.
Have you seen the time lapse of the 24? You know, the snow falling within 24 hours.
I haven't been. No. But I have seen numerous pictures of people's doors and garage doors completely snowed in.
Yeah, it's, you see a lightly covered deck in the one I saw, and then it just gradually fills up with snow to the point where it covers the camera.
Yep. Yeah, that's par for their course. One more thing I should do here. Oops. Recording. I gotta remember to do that occasionally.
Yeah.
Just in case. So, you're in Kentucky? Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah.
Which is not far from Virginia?
Sort of. Tennessee is a long, flat state, not a tall, square one. Yeah. So, the east end of Tennessee butts up against Virginia, but that's at least 4 hours by car from here.
Okay. So, all of your local gun-toting rednecks are out of state at the moment, or what?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. That event turns out to be not as bad as they were hyping.
Well, of course not.
Well, Charlotte's turned out to be worse than everybody thought it was going to be, so.
Yeah. Craziness.
Well, and apparently, the law they're protesting over is not related to guns at all, but deals with teachers. And somehow they've decided it involves guns. So,
Well, only if you arm the teachers, no?
yeah.
Fucking ridiculous.
And it's like, do you not remember what your teachers were like in high school? Giving them a gun is not a good idea.
No! They gotta put up with a classroom full of little shits.
Yeah.
Well, if they're anything like the people I went to school with. or me. Yeah. So, you want to do this?
Yeah.
Well,
I guess.
I don't remember where we left off. 26?
Yeah, 26.
Andrew did many signs in Corinth. Sostratus, the father of Philopater, warned in a vision to visit Andrew. Came first to Achaia and then to Corinth. He met Andrew walking with Lesbius, recognized him by his vision, and fell at his feet. Philopater said, "This is my father, who seeks to know what he must do." Andrew. Okay, this is... Oh, okay. I know that he has come to learn the truth. We thank God who reveals himself to believers. Leontus, the servant of Sostratus, said to him, Seest thou, sir, how this man's face shineth? I see, my beloved, said Sostratus. Let us never leave him, but live with him and hear the words of eternal life. The next day they offered Andrew many gifts, and he said, It is not for me to take aught of you but your own selves. Had I desired money, Lesbius is richer. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
There's
So,
more of that subtext going on there.
yeah. So Andrew is apparently a sign painter. He did many signs.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Okay.
After some days, he bade them to prepare him a bath. And going there, he saw an old man with a devil, trembling exceedingly. The old man or the devil, who knows? As he wondered at him, another, a youth, came out of the bath and fell at his seeing. What have we to do with thee, Andrew? Hast thou come here to turn us out of our abodes? Andrew said to the people, Fear not, and drove out both the devils. Well, maybe the kid was voicing the devil's fears. And so now Andrew has just contradicted himself. He says, don't fear, and you're thrown out.
Come on, baby. Don't fear the Reaper.
Yeah. Then, as he bathed, he told them, The enemy of mankind lies in wait everywhere, in baths and in rivers. So, obviously, don't bathe and you'll be okay. Therefore, we ought to always invoke the Lord's name, that he may have power over us. They brought their sick to him to be healed, and so they did from other cities.
Yeah. Filthy monkey men. An old man, Nicolaus, came with clothes rent and said, I am 74 years old and have always been a libertine. 3 days ago I heard of your miracles and teaching. I thought I would turn over a new leaf, and then again that I would not. In this doubt, I took a gospel and prayed God to make me forgive my old devices. A few days after, I forgot the gospel I had about me and went to the brothel. The woman said, Depart, old man, depart. Thou art an angel of God. Touch me not, nor approach me, for I see in thee a great mystery.
Hey, I'm sorry, man, but that's a deal killer right there.
Yeah.
If the hookers don't want you.
Yep, that's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Then I remembered the gospel, and am come to you for help and pardon. Andrew discoursed long against incontinence. Okay. And prayed from the 6th to the 9th hour. He rose and washed his face and said, I will not eat till I know if God will have mercy on this man. A second day he fasted, but had no revelation until the 5th day, when he wept vehemently and said, Lord, we obtain mercy for the dead, and now this man that desireth to know thy greatness. Wherefore should he not return, and thou heal him? A voice from heaven said, Thou hast prevailed for the old man, but like as thou art worn with fasting, let him also fast, that he may be saved. So everybody's got to go hungry?
I'm going hungry.
And he called him and preached abstinence. On the 6th day he asked the brethren all to pray for Nicolaus, and they did. Andrew then took food and permitted the rest to eat. Nicolaus went home, gave away all his goods, and lived for 6 months on dry bread and water. Then he died. Andrew was not there, but in the place where he was, he heard a voice. Andrew, Nicolaus, for whom thou didst intercede, is become mine. Then he told the brethren that Nicolaus was dead, and prayed that he might rest in peace.
Okay, I gotta look this up.
Dude just starved to death, and they're saying it like it's a good thing.
Well, it said he lived for 6 months on bread.
Dry bread and water, yeah?
Yeah, and I have to find this because I've read this. Where they did this. Somebody figured, not that somebody actually did this.
But why, though?
Yeah, okay, here it is. I put, because there used to be a newspaper column called The Straight Dope, which was good in the 70s and 80s, and then it went downhill after that, and it's a long story about how bad. So somebody asked, the column, because it's an answer man type column, and it said, "Can man live by bread alone? If so, how long?" So let me pull this up. Wow! After 6 weeks, you'll get scurvy.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's possible you could live 2 years if you allow yourself to drink water.
Yeah. Well, you're dead. You're dead inside of 2 days with no water. So.
Yeah. Apparently you'd be eating. Well, let me just read this paragraph. So how long would you last? Judging from the experience of old sea dogs and pilgrims with scurvy, it's possible you could live 2 years, especially if you allow yourself to drink water. Purists such as myself regard this as cheating, but I know how it is with you kids these days. With water, you can eat less bread and not worry about your sodium intake, either the perilous excess or, conversely, a deficiency of sodium, which would also mean a hastier death. But if you don't drink water and consequently try to shove 6 loaves down your throat day in and day out, in other words, because you need the moisture in the bread to make up for the lack of water,
yep.
And that means consuming about 8,000 calories a day, 4 times what a 160-pound man needs when he's moderately active, and you won't be. You'll be lacing your urine with glucose and wildly overtaxing your kidneys, which means you should be happy to be alive 6 months later. That is, if you don't wish you were dead.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, he could have lived 6 months since he had the water.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. And while he abode in that place, probably Lacedaemon, how would you not know this since you know everything else that you're writing in this book that you probably didn't witness? Antiphanes of Megara came and said, "If there be in thee any kindness, according to the command of the Savior, whom thou preachest, show it now." Asked what his story was, he told it. "Returning from a journey, I heard the porter of my house crying out. They told me that he and his wife and son were tormented of a devil. I went upstairs and found other servants gnashing their teeth, running at me and laughing madly. I went further up and found they had beaten my wife. She lay with her hair over her face, unable to recognize me. Cure her, and I care nothing for the others." Andrew said, "There is no respect of persons with God. Let us go there." They went from Lacedaemon to Megara. When they entered the house, all the devils cried out, "What dost thou here, Andrew? Go where thou art permitted. This house is ours." He healed the wife and all the possessed persons, and Antiphanes and his wife became firm adherents. That sounds like, not that I actually believe that this happened, but it sounds like a case of ergot poisoning.
Wouldn't be surprised.
And it would certainly not be uncommon, so whomever wrote this may have encountered something like that caused by ergot poisoning and said, "Oh, okay."
Yep. St. Elmo's Fire, St. Vitus Dance.
Yeah.
All that fun stuff. He returned to Petrae, where Aegeus was now proconsul, and one Iphidamia, who who had been converted by a disciple Sosius, came and embraced his feet and said, "My lady Maximilla, who is in a fever, has sent for you. The proconsul is standing by her bed with his sword drawn, meaning to kill himself when she expires." He went to her and said to Aegeus, "Do thyself no harm, but put up thy sword into his place. There will be a time when thou wilt draw it on me." Aegeus did not understand, but made way. Andrew took Maximilla's hand. She broke into a sweat and was well. He bade them give her food. The proconsul sent him 100 pieces of silver, but he would not look at them. Going thence, he saw a sick man lying in the dirt, begging, and healed him. Elsewhere he saw a blind man with wife and son, and said, "This is indeed the devil's work. He has blinded them in soul and body." He opened their eyes, and they believed. This guy's just like, boom,
Yeah.
pow, conversion.
He seems to be more miraculous than Jeebus.
He does.
I mean, he's done more resurrections and more healings and more casting out of demons.
Than I read in 4 or 5 books of the Bible, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One who saw this said, "I beg thee, come to the harbor. There is a man, the son of a sailor, sick 50 years, cast out of the house, lying on the shore, incurable, full of ulcers and worms." They went to him, the sick man said, "Perhaps you are the disciple of God, perhaps you are the disciple of that God who alone can save." Andrew said, "I am he who in the name of my God can restore thee to health," and added, "In the name of Jesus Christ, rise and follow me." He left his filthy rags and followed, the pus and worms flowing from him. Oh, I did not need that image. Did not need that image. They went into the sea, and the apostle washed him in the name of the Trinity, and he was whole, and ran naked through the city, proclaiming the true God.
Okay, these guys are whacked.
Now, we know where that came from.
What?
Running
through
naked through the city. Yeah, proclaiming something.
Oh, isn't that Isaiah, the naked prophet?
No, Archimedes.
Oh, Eureka!
Eureka. He was in the bath. And he figured out how to tell if the crown was legit or not, and he immediately leaped out of the bath and ran through the streets of whatever Grecian city it was that he lived in, screaming, "Eureka, Eureka."
All right.
That's where that had to have come from. And Archimedes probably didn't do that either, but...
Well, yeah, it's all apocryphal.
Yeah.
At this time, the proconsul's brother, Stratocles, I wonder if he played a Stratocaster, arrived from Italy. One of his slaves, Alcman, whom he loved, was taken by a devil and lay foaming in the court. Okay. Is that Santorum? Stratocles, hearing of it, said, "Would the sea had swallowed me before I saw this." Maximilla and Iphidamia said, "Be comforted. There is here a man of God. Let us send for him." When he came, he took the boy's hand and raised him whole. Shit writes itself, man. Stratocles believed and clave to Andrew.
There was a group of the Essenes, I think it was.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, one of the splinter Jewish sects at the time, who, they were quite okay with you having sex, they just didn't want you to make babies. So, what you were supposed to do when you were having sex is pull out, jizz in your own hand, and hold the hand up to God.
Oh.
To show that you weren't creating new life.
Okay. I know you're not supposed to throw it on the ground, but...
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, puts a different flavor on that. On taking the boy's hand after he came. Okay. Maximilia went daily to the praetorium and sent for Andrew to teach there. Egas was away in Macedonia, angry because Maximilia had left him since her conversion. As they were all assembled one day, he returned to their great terror. Andrew prayed that he might not be suffered to enter the place till all had dispersed, and Egas was at once seized with indisposition. What, he got cramps? And in the interval, the apostles signed them all and sent them away. So, like, he autographed them? Yeah. All picture these women exposing their breasts. Sign here, Andrew. Himself last. But Maximilla, on the first opportunity, came to Andrew and received the word of God and went home. At about this point, we must place the episodes quoted by Evodius of Uzala. See below.
After this, Andrew was taken and imprisoned by Aegeus, and all came to the prison to be taught. After a few days, he was scourged and crucified. He hung for 3 days, preaching, and expired, as is fully set forth in his Passion. Maximilla embalmed and buried his body.
Could not have happened.
Well, not with formaldehyde. But
No. If you're crucified, they do not allow your body to be removed from the cross.
Oh, okay.
That was the real terror of crucifixion. It was because everybody at that period of time wanted a decent burial. Or they felt they couldn't rest. And so they crucified you, which was painful, but then they left your body on the cross to rot and fall off. And of course, in this period of time, what happens when your body starts to fall apart? There's all kinds of rats and wild dogs and things like that. Yep. That are going to be there eating it.
Yep, sky burial.
Yeah.
From the tombs comes manna like flour and oil. The amount shows the barrenness or fertility of the coming season. As I have told in my first book of miracles. First book of miracles? This is all miracle shit. I have not set out his passion at length because I find it well done by someone else.
This much have I presumed to write, unworthy, unlettered, and so on. Okay? How can you write if you're unlettered? Anyways, the author's prayer for himself ends the book. May Andrew, on whose death day he was born, intercede to save him. The passion to which Gregory alludes is that which begins conversante et docente. I don't know what that means. Let's just translate that. Because I have no clue what conversations. Well, there is
no results found.
Nothing in English. Nothing in English.
I'm guessing they just made this shit up.
Yeah, it does. There's no English translation of that phrase that I can, on the first page of the Google results. There's a reference to, and it says, it goes back. These are the opening words of an account of a 6th century martyrdom edited from 4 manuscripts dating from the 10th to the 12th century. But that doesn't explain what those words mean. That just describes, the thing about the text. I don't know.
Google Translates translated it to while he was teaching.
Okay. Of the detached fragments and quotations which precede the Passion, there are 3. I'll let you take A.
One is in the Epistle of Titus, when finally Andrew also, John has been cited shortly before, had come to a wedding. He too, to manifest the glory of God, disjoined certain who were intended to marry each other, men and women, and instructed them to continue holy in the single state.
Cock blocker!
I know. That's a dick move.
Yeah.
No doubt this refers to the story in Gregory, chapter 11. Gregory, it may be noted, has altered the story, or has used an altered text, for the marriage of cousins was not forbidden till Theodosius' time. So, Flamion? I don't know. He or his source has imagined the relationship between the couples. In the original acts, none need have existed. The mere fact of the marriage was enough.
And Theodosius presumably refers to a Roman emperor who lived from 347 CE to 395 CE. So this was well after Jebus was said to have been around.
Well, didn't the text you came up with say 6th century?
Yeah, who knows? It's so confusing. The next are in a tract by Evodius, Bishop of Uzala, against the Manichees. Observe in the Acts of Lucius, which he wrote under the name of the Apostles, like any of the Apostles wrote any of the texts we have, what manner of things you accept about Maximilia, the wife of Egetes, who, refusing to pay her due to her husband. Wow, that's problematic here. That could mean a couple of different things. Could mean she refused to give him money that she owed him, or it could mean that she refused to have sex with him.
Yep.
Though the apostle has said, let the husband pay the due to the wife, and likewise the wife to the husband. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 3, imposed her maid Lucia upon her husband, decking her out, as is there written, with wicked, literally hostile, enticements and paintings, and substituted her as deputy for herself at night, so that he in ignorance used her as his wife. Okay, so yeah, that was the worst possible one it could have been.
Yeah, I think we settled that question.
Yeah. There also is it written that when this same Maximilia and Iphidamia were gone together to hear the apostle Andrew, a beautiful child, who Lucius would have us understand was either God or at least an angel, escorted them to the apostle Andrew and went to the praetorium of Egetes, and entering their chamber, feigned a woman's voice as of Maximilia, complaining of the sufferings of womankind, and of Iphidamia replying, when Egetes heard this dialogue, he went away. These incidents must have intervened between CC 35 and 36 of Gregory of Tours, which I have no idea what the fuck that is.
Nope. Evodius quotes another sentence, not certainly from the Acts of Andrew, but more in their manner than in that of John or Peter. In the Acts written by Lucius, which the Manichees received, it is thus written, for the deceitful figments and pretended shows and collection, force compelling, of visible things do not even proceed from their own nature, but from that man who of his own will has become worse through seduction. Wow, what kind of dressing do you put on that kind of word salad?
I don't know, but
it is obscure enough. I don't know if that's commentary or what, but yeah. That's the text. It is obscure enough in original inversion, but is the kind of thing that would appeal to those who thought of material things and phenomena as evil. We do not wonder that such narratives as that which Evodius quotes have been expunged either by Gregory or his source from the text. The next passage is a fragment of some pages in length found by M. Benet in a Vatican MS.
Manuscript.
Manuscript. Something or other, GR grade 808? I don't know.
Yeah.
Of 10th to 11th century, there is no doubt that it is a piece of the original Acts. It is highly tedious in parts.
Oh, Thanks for the warning.
Thanks. Andrew in prison discourses to the brethren.
Okay, and the Gregory of Tours that they were referring to was a Gallo-Roman historian and Bishop of Tours who lived in the 6th century CE.
Okay.
So the best you can say is that they're talking about him recopying the original Acts of Andrew. The worst you can say is that he was fabricating it.
Making it up.
All right. Is there in you altogether slackness? Holy shit, he's a Church of the Subgenius.
Yep.
Slack. Are ye not yet convinced of yourselves that ye do not yet bear his goodness? Let us be reverent. Let us rejoice with ourselves in the bountiful, ungrudging fellowship which cometh of him. Let us say unto ourselves, blessed is our race. Oh boy, that doesn't sound problematic at all. By whom hath it loved? Blessed is our state. Of whom hath it obtained mercy? We are not cast on the ground. We that have been recognized by so great highness, we are not the offspring of time. Ooh, that would be a good book title, The Offspring of Time. And afterward to be dissolved by time. Might be another one, dissolved by time. We are not a contrivance, product of motion, made to be again. Oh, so now he's coming out against reincarnation, destroyed by itself, nor things of earthly birth, ending again therein. We belong, then, to a greatness, unto which we aspire, of which we are the property, and peradventure to a greatness that hath mercy upon us. We belong to the better, therefore we flee from the worse. We belong to the beautiful, for whose sake we reject the foul, to the righteous, by whom we cast away the unrighteous, to the merciful, by whom we reject the unmerciful, to the Savior, by whom we recognize the destroyer, to the light, by whom we have cast away the darkness, to the one, by whom we have turned away from the many, to the heavenly, by whom we have learned to know the earthly, to the abiding, by whom we have seen the transitory. If we desire to offer unto God that hath had mercy on us a worthy thanksgiving or confidence or hymn or boasting, what better cause, theme, have we than that we have been recognized by him?
That's quite the mouthful.
Yeah.
And having discoursed thus to the brethren, he sent them away every one to his house, saying to them, Neither are ye ever forsaken of me, ye that are servants of Christ, because of the love that is in him, neither again shall I be forsaken of you because of his intercession, mediation. And everyone departed unto his house, and there was among them rejoicing after this sort for many days, while Aegetes, I'm not sure if that's the same guy as before, not thought to prosecute the accusation against the apostle. Every one of them then was confirmed at that time in hope toward the Lord, and they assembled without fear in the prison, with Maximilla, Iphidamia, and the rest continually being sheltered by the protection and grace of the Lord.
Uh-huh.
I think it is the same dude.
It could be. But one day, Aegetes, as he was hearing causes, remembered the matter concerning Andrew, and as one seized with madness, he left the cause which he had in hand, and rose up from the judgment seat, and ran quickly to the praetorium, inflamed with love of Maximilia, and desiring to persuade her with flatteries. And Maximilia was beforehand with him, coming from the prison and entering the house. And he went in and said to her,
Maximilia, thy parents counted me worthy of being thy consort, and gave me thine hand in marriage, not looking to wealth or descent or renown, but it may be to my good disposition of soul, and that I may pass over much that I might utter in reproach of thee. Just shut up, dude. Both of that which I have enjoyed at thy parents' hand, and thou from me during all our life. I am come leaving the court to learn of thee this one thing. Answer me then reasonably. Good luck with that. If thou wert as the wife of former days, living with me in the way we know, sleeping, conversing, bearing offspring with me, I would deal well with thee in all points. Nay, more, I would set free the stranger whom I hold in prison. But if thou wilt not, to thee I would do nothing harsh, for indeed I cannot. But him whom thou affectionest more than me, I will afflict yet more. Consider then, Maximilla, to whether of the two thou inclinest, and answer me tomorrow, for I am wholly armed for this emergency.
So, either you give it up or I torture your boyfriend.
Yep, sounds that way.
And with these words he went out. But Maximilla again at the accustomed hour with Iphidamia went to Andrew, and putting his hands before her own eyes, then putting them to her mouth, she began to declare him the whole matter of the demand of Agates. And Andrew answered to her, I know, Maximilia, my child, that thou thyself art moved to resist the whole attraction promise of nuptial union, desiring to be quit of a foul and polluted way of life. And this hath long been firmly felled in thine intention. But now thou wishest for further testimony of mine opinion. I testify, O Maximilia, do it not. Be not vanquished by the threat of Agates. Be not overcome by his discourse. Fear not his shameful counsels. Fall not to his artful flatteries. Consent not to surrender thyself to his impure spells, but endure all his torments, looking unto us for a little space, and thou shalt see him, wholly numbed and withering away from thee and from all that are akin to thee. But for that which I most needed to say to thee, for I rest not till I fulfill the business which is seen, and which cometh to pass in thy person, hath escaped me. And rightly in thee do I behold Eve repenting, and in myself Adam returning. For that which she suffered in ignorance, thou now, for whose soul I strive, settest right by returning, and that which the spirit suffered, which was overthrown with her and slipped away from itself, is set right in me. Boy, this is getting awfully messianic. By taking refuge with God, that which she disobeyed thou hast obeyed, and that whereto he consented I flee from, and that which they both transgressed we have been aware of. For it is ordained that every one should correct and raise up again his own fall.
Whew. I then, having said this as I have said it, would go on to speak as followeth. Well done, O nature, that art being saved, for thou hast been strong, and hast not hidden thyself from God like Adam. Well done, O soul, that criest out of what thou hast suffered, and returnest unto thyself. Well done, O man, that understandest what is thine, and dost press on to what is thine. Press on. Well done, thou that hearest what is spoken, for I see thee to be greater than things that are thought or spoken. I recognize thee as more powerful than things which seem to overpower thee, as more beautiful than those which cast thee down into foulness, which brought thee down into captivity. Perceiving then, O man, all this in thyself, that thou art immaterial, holy light, akin to him that is unborn, that thou art intellectual, heavenly, translucent, pure, above the flesh, above the world, above rulers, above principalities, over whom thou art in truth, then comprehend thyself in thy condition, and receive full knowledge, and understand wherein thou excellest, and beholding thine own face in thine essence, break asunder all bonds, I say not only those that are of thy birth, but those that are above birth, whereof we have set forth to thee the names which are exceedingly great, desire earnestly to see him that is revealed unto thee, him who doth not come into being, phrasing, whom perchance thou alone shalt recognize with confidence. So, butter me up like toast.
Yeah. These things I have spoken of thee, Maximilia, for in their meaning the things I have spoken reach unto thee, like as Adam died in Eve. Well, phrasing, because he consented unto her confession, so do I now live in thee, that keepest the Lord's commandment, and establishest thyself in the rank and dignity of thy being. But the threats of Aegeates do not thou trample down, Maximilia, knowing that we have God that hath mercy on us. And let not his noise move thee, but continue chaste, and let him punish me, not only with such torments as bonds, but let him cast me to the beasts, or burn me with fire, and throw me from a precipice. What need I say? There is but this one body. Let him abuse that as he will, for it is akin to himself.
A little bit of BDSM there.
Yeah, just that.
And yet again unto thee is my speech, Maximilla. I say unto thee, give not thyself over unto Aegeates, withstand his ambushes. For indeed, Maximilla, I have seen my lord saying unto me, Andrew, Aegeates' father, the devil will loose thee from this prison thine, therefore let it be henceforth to keep thyself chaste and pure, holy, unspotted, sincere, free from adultery, not reconciled to the discourse of our enemy, unbent, unbroken, tearless, unwound. Unwound for sure. Unwounded, not storm-tossed, undivided, not stumbling, without fellow feeling for the works of Cain. For if thou give not up thyself, Maximilla, to what is contrary to these, I also shall rest, though I be thus forced to leave this life for thy sake that is for mine own. These guys like to talk in circles, don't they? Mm-hmm. But if I were thrust out hence, even I, who it may be, might avail through thee to profit others that are akin to me, and if thou wert persuaded by the discourse of Aegeates, and the flatteries of his father the serpent, so that thou didst turn unto thy former works, know thou that on thine account I should be tormented until thou thyself sawest that I had contemned life for the sake of a soul which was not worthy. Woof.
Yeah. I entreat, therefore, the wise man that is in thee. Oh, that's not at all sexist. That thy mind continue clear seeing. I entreat thy mind that is not seen, that it be preserved whole. I beseech thee, love thy Jesus, and yield not unto the worse. Assist me, thou whom I entreat as a man, that I may become perfect. Help me also, that thou mayest recognize thine own true belief. Feel with me in my suffering, that thou mayest take knowledge of what I suffer, and escape suffering. See that which I see, and thou shalt be blind to what thou seest. See that which thou shouldst, and thou shalt not see that thou shouldst not. Hearken to what I say, and cast away that which thou hast heard. God damn.
Yeah, it's... wow. These things have I spoken unto thee, and unto every one that heareth, if he will hear. But thou, O Stratocles, said he, looking toward him, why art thou so oppressed, with many tears and groanings to be heard afar off? What is the lowness of spirit that is on thee? Why thy much pain and thy great anguish? Dost thou take note of what is said, and wherefore I pray thee to be disposed in mind as my child, or my child to be composed in mind? Dost thou perceive unto whom my words are spoken? Hast each of them taken hold on thine understanding? Have they wedded? Manuscript touched. Thine intellectual part, with a noodly appendage, I hope. Have I thee as one that hath hearkened to me? Do I find myself in thee? Yeah. Is there in thee one that speakest, whom I see to be mine own? Doth he love him that speaketh in me, and desire to have fellowship with him? Doth he wish to be made over? Yeah. Doth he wish to be made one with him? Gee, I wonder what that means.
Yeah.
Doth lie hasten to become his friend? Doth he yearn to be joined with him? Doth he find in him any rest? Well, not if they're a ginger. Hath he where he lay his head? Doth naught oppose him there? Naught that is wroth with him, resisteth him, hateth him, fleeth from him, is savage, avoideth, turneth away, starteth off, is burdened, maketh war, talketh with others, is flattered by others, agreeing with others, doth nothing else disturb him. Is there one within that is strange to me? An adversary, a breaker of peace, an enemy, a cheat, a sorcerer, a crooked dealer, unsound, guileful, a hater of men, a hater of the word, one like a tyrant, boastful, puffed up, mad, akin to the serpent, a weapon of the devil, a friend of the fire, belonging to darkness. Is there in thee anyone, Stratocles, that cannot endure my saying these things? Who is it? Answer. Do I talk in vain? Have I spoken in vain? Nay, saith the man in thee, Stratocles, who now again weepeth. Fuck me.
He probably would like to, but that's another story.
Yeah. Brutal.
And Andrew took the band of Stratocles. That's kind of a dick move. You're taking his band. And said, I have him whom I loved. I shall rest on him whom I look for. For thy yet groaning and weeping without restraint is a sign unto me that I have already found rest, that I have not spoken to thee these words which are akin to me in vain. Okay. And Stratocles answered him, Think not, most beloved Andrew, that there is aught else that afflicteth me but thee. That's text. No subtext.
Text. There's no subtext. That is like, highlight that.
For the words that come forth of thee are like arrows of fire shot against me. And every one of them reacheth me, and verily burneth me up. They're flaming. That's
I think that's what they're getting at, yeah.
Yeah. That part of my soul which inclineth to what I hear is tormented, divining the affliction that is to follow. For thou thyself departest, and I know nobly, but hereafter, when I seek thy care and affection, where shall I find it, or in whom? I have received the seeds of the words of salvation, and thou wast the sower. Text. It's all text.
I know.
But that day should sprout up and grow needs none other but thee, most blessed Andrew. And what else have I to say to thee but this? I need much mercy and help from thee to become worthy of the seed I have from thee, which will not otherwise increase perpetually, or grow up into the light, except thou willest it, and prayest for them and for the whole of me. Whoa.
Okay, this is Apocrypha, right?
Yeah.
This guy. Okay. I wonder why. And
I think, considering, things the Catholic priests are known for, that this would be the prime text.
Mm-hmm. And Andrew answered him, This, my child, was what I beheld in thee myself, and I glorify my Lord that my thoughts of thee walk not on the void, but knew what it said. But that ye may know the truth, tomorrow doth Aegeates deliver me up to be crucified. For Maximilla, the servant of the Lord, will enrage the enemy that is in him, unto whom he belongeth, by not consenting to that which is hateful to her, and by turning against me he will think to console himself. Now while the apostle spake these things, Maximilla was not there, for she, having heard throughout the words wherewith he answered her, and being in part composed by them, and of such a mind as the words pointed out, set forth not inadvisably, nor without purpose, and went to the praetorium. And she bade farewell to all the life of the flesh, and when Aegeates brought to her the same demand which he had told her to consider, whether she would lie with him, she rejected it. And thenceforth he bent himself to putting Andrew to death, and thought to what death he should expose him. And when all of the death's crucifixion alone prevailed with him, he went away with his like and dined. And Maximilla, the Lord going before her in the likeness of Andrew, with Iphidamia came back to the prison. And there being therein a great gathering of the brethren, she found Andrew discoursing thus.
That's it for this episode of The Atheist in the Trailer Park Podcast. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, as well as just about anywhere else podcasts can be found. Many of the episodes are also on YouTube. Follow the show on Twitter. @TParkAtheist is the show's Twitter handle. It's on Facebook at facebook.com/trailerparkatheist.com. If you happen to like the podcast, please rate it on iTunes. If you'd like to support the podcast, there's a donate button on the show notes page. You can support it via Patreon at patreon.com/TNTucker. Thanks for listening.
Say goodnight, Fuzznuts.
All I know is this violates every canon of respectable broadcasting.
Damned cat.